This computer recording in progress. Okay. Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Nice to see
Um,
you. I
nice
like
to
your
see you.
background.
Thank you. Yeah. It's like a precipice on the edge of a cliff, isn't it?
It sure feels that way some days, doesn't it?
Hmm. Okay, so what I wanted to do today, Ginger and I had a really long talk last night, and we went from subject to subject to subject, and I made lots of notes. But the real nuts and bolts of the conversation that we were talking about was we were talking about firstly we were talking about vibration, and then we were talking about frequency. But when we talked about frequency, we decided that frequency depicted how often it happened rather than the actual bandwidth that you landed on. So we decided to change the word frequency to bandwidth. Well, actually, I decided that after you'd gone.
That's
Um,
okay. It works.
okay. So then I wrote this thing, and I didn't write it. I sort of wrote it. I half wrote it. And then one of the things that we were going to try and do today is we're going to try and talk about how you fluctuate your own bandwidth, how you can make it push it up and put it down, why you'd want to push it up, why you'd want to pull it down, and all of the married other subjects that came off stemming from this particular subject. So what I'm going to do is start by, oh, sorry, I can't minimize my screen, but I can share the screen. So I'm going to share the screen, and I'm going to move that out of the way. And I'm going to, actually, I thought this was really cool. I sent this to Ginger last night, and I'll put a man or a woman who lacks purpose distracts himself with pleasure. I thought that was pretty cool.
It's quite true. And
Mm.
it's the comfort zone.
Okay,
You get stuck there, inertia.
exactly. So this is the thing that I wanted to share with you. So I'm going to move it down a bit.
Oh, that helps.
I'm going to zoom in even more and move it down a bit more. Here you go. The universe responds to your vibration. It never recognizes your personal desires, wants, or needs. It only ever corresponds to the bandwidth that you are sitting in currently. By example, if you're sitting in a bandwidth of fear or guilt, then the reflection of your external world will reflect that. And if by chance you're experiencing a vibration of love, joy, and abundance, then your external world will reflect that, which
I
is
agree.
actually one of the reasons why gratitude can change your vibration or your bandwidth. Because gratitude can shift a reality that is experiencing lack to a reality that is experiencing grace.
That's beautiful. Well said.
Thank you. It's sort of like tuning a radio station in and listening to a song that can light you up or tear you down simply by tapping into memories or triggering emotions. Sorry, triggering memories that you have an emotional reaction to. So change your mindset, it will change your life. One of the reasons that we got into this discussion was because I've been experiencing down quite a lot lately, like really, really heavy, dense down. And I was really questioning why I was experiencing it. And really it was what I got from it was that I needed to go down in order to be able to reach the really deep, murky stuff inside of me so I could bring it to the surface and talk about it, basically. And that's talking about me there. But okay, so where we went from here was we went all over the place. but one of
it always flows so well.
okay, so one of the things that you sent to me was a video done by a guy called Luke Mind Power. Now,
Yes.
Luke Mind Power, I'm not going to play a lot of it because it's got music in it that I could get a copyright for. So I'm just going to
I
play it.
wonder about that. I wonder if it's been tested and pushed enough that we can push back a little and uh and risk it. I think he's doing it. Why can't we? And if it's for educational purposes, I mean, we're studying his theory,
But
right?
he might be actually paying for the rights to
That's
use that
true.
music,
Oh, I see how it works. Okay.
right? Because you've got to pay for the rights to use music. So what I can do is just give you a very small clip of this concept, and then I'll actually give you a link because he does a lot of shorts. He does a lot of really short videos, but he's got really up kind of vibe to it. Here you go. I'll just play it for a couple of
Yes.
seconds. Oh, hang on. I didn't share the sound. I've got to share the sound. Share sound. Right, again. So what he does is he plays really upbeat music, little statements, really cool, actually, little statements, and he dances and does all these like little jigs and stuff. So the one before, there's loads of them. Hold on. Baby, when your baby leaves you all alone. And Ginger and I were just talking about the fact that you can watch this stuff, and I think it's a combination of the upbeat music, him prancing about like a, I don't know what you call it,
I
but
can't stop smiling right now. It's got me. It's, the sound, the vibration. I'm very careful about what songs I listen to, but there's something about this that really it hits and it lifts me up when I need a lift. When I need a
lovely.
quick boost of energy or I need to want to shift my vibration, it's a quick fix.
Okay, so I'm going to give you that. Then the next subject we're going to talk about is actually quite heavy,
Yeah.
and we're gonna have a look at see how we feel after we've had this little bit heavier conversation. All right. So we're just going to take stock after it. So the next conversation that we had, oh, I'm actually going all over the place here, but one of the conversations that we had, we were talking about the fires in Canada.
Yeah, it's pretty
And
bad and they were out of control. How does this happen? Why aren't we prepared for this type of thing? A lot of our taxpayer dollars are supposed to be providing for those types of emergencies. We should not have to rely on, we shouldn't have to outsource fire extinguishers and, planes that drop water from the sky. But that's what has happened in many rural areas in Nova Scotia and throughout other parts of Canada and the US. There's some very strange things happening at a time of year when it's not that dry. We're still in springtime here. And so summertime is our dry season. Springtime, not so much. We may not have had a lot of rain, but I think well, they're saying these are record-breaking um, fires because we've never had them this early. So it's not just my instinct, it's what I've heard reported.
but the thing is when we were talking about it last night, we were talking about the mainstream, so like the TV's version of it versus the kind of YouTube-ish alternative media version of it in relation to what's causing the fires. And then we were also talking about chemtrails,
Yes.
because one of the observations that, I mean, we've talked about this personally lately, but we haven't really talked about that in depth at any level online. But the chemtrails, a video came to mind last night about the chemtrails, and the reason why the chemtrails are related to the fires, I'll talk about in a minute. But I'm going to share the screen again, And I'm going
Hmm.
to show you a video that came to me. I don't know where it came from, but it explained something to me that I've always kind of looked at and gone, oh, well, oops, I'll stop sharing it. I'll share it again. Sorry. I don't know whether I need
Sorry.
on this at all. Right, but this video came to my attention yesterday and it explained something to me that was really pertinent, which was I can remember as a child, can't find the video now. I can remember as a child seeing planes with contrails out of them. I can remember the thing going across the sky. And I've
Do you
always
remember the
wondered,
sky writers? Remember they used to write
yeah,
messages in the sky, or was that just my
yeah.
dream?
No, they
Okay.
did. Okay.
Will you marry
So
me? That type of thing. It was all very romanticized.
so this came across to me yesterday and it explained a lot.
Contrails versus
Hmm.
chemtrails. Look at that.
Hold on. So this is contrails versus chemtrails. So what we've got on the screen is going across, we've got a contrail, which is a plane flying through the sky, leaving a wake. And interestingly enough, you brought to my attention, it almost looks like it's going through water. It almost looks as if it's going through water. So the one going across is a
Planes
contrail.
crossing each other. One, contrails disappearing. The other, look at the tail.
So it's disappearing as it goes
That's as
along.
close as you're going to get to proof. Look at that.
Whereas the other one
Two.
is a chemtrail. So it leaves behind it chemicals in the atmosphere, which disperse and actually look kind of like what's there. So chemicals being dispersed. So there's lots and lots and lots of stuff about the Canadian fires in relation to the chemtrails. And there's also been lots of controversial stuff about the fact that they're actually dropping the chemicals onto the trees that will encourage the fires. So they're spiking it sort of thing and making it happen because they want climate change to happen. But
Well,
this
there's all sorts of different perspectives at play here, and what we see is a manifestation of those perspectives, I think.
So what where we went last night with this was you've got two different sides of it. And the way if you go higher, if you go to a higher thinking of it, like a couple of years ago, in the last few years, we've had enormous floods in Brisbane, in the area I live in, or Queensland in general, enormous floods, loads of houses and things going underwater completely, being completely submerged. And esoterically, if something floods, then esoterically it happens because the person needs to is stuck too much in the material and needs to bring and needs to look at things from a less dense perspective. So, perhaps somebody on a mouse wheel that's going to work and coming home from work and eating, sleeping, and going back to work and not having any life might have that experience of flooding in order
Definitely a wake up call. Everything changes in that moment. Your whole shifting, your everything becomes about the flood.
exactly. And it also you imagine a flood, right? You get caught in a flood and you're going to get swept down a river.
Hmm.
That's the esoteric concept of it. It's going to change your life. It's going to change your thinking. It's going to make you less attached to the material because you're going to realize that everything in life is a flow, is it's like a cash flow or a it's like you're meant to be more fluid. You're meant to be less sort of like hanging on to everything. But you're experiencing this flood for that reason. So if we take, and I realize that I could be hitting a few sensitive points here by talking about the fires in the same way, because we have fires in Australia as well, big fires. But from an esoteric point of view, what we've got is millions of people experiencing fire. So, what is the esoteric reason why somebody would experience fire. Over to you, Ginger.
I was thinking a lot about purification because fire is known to purify. If you look at how we use sage,
How
we
does it
burn
purify?
we burn sage and we allow the smoke to cleanse our energy body, and it does a remarkable job. A lot of people are drawn to that as a solution for clearing energy, and I know I am. I use it pretty regularly because, energy can be like magnetic. We are electromagnetic beings of light. That's how I see it. And we are energetic and we are attracting other people to us. As much as we can repel certain things, we can also attract. So whatever our vibration is, we're going to attract more of the same. And yeah, so the fire can be purifying. It also represents our desires and a will, a strong will, and a determination. Like these fires can be really hard to control, and I can appreciate that. However, I'm wondering where's the resources? How could we not be prepared in a land that's known for its lumber? And how could we be so unprepared? I feel like there might be more to it. And as you're saying, there's always an esoteric reason for it. But some people will blame aliens or little leprechauns or whatever their imaginarium can conjure up. That's why I say there's so many perspectives at play here. It's hard to imagine what the majority of the people are thinking right now. I'd say it's all about fear of what is actually happening above us.
Okay. So,
because there's many that can't even see this. There's so many still that cannot perceive this at all.
Yeah. And also fire in relation to an energy, in relation to a general energy. I mean, if you get like a fire's all about adventure, getting out there and doing stuff, having the impetus to actually get up your arse and actually get moving into stuff, actually do things, actually go for a walk, actually. So it could be an implication that, and God, I'm not throwing aspersions in this direction, but it could be an indication that this entire kind of sect of people have become very lazy, become very compliant, become very near, just like kind of not wanting to be involved in anything, just want to hide away from what's really happening in the world, not really get involved. So they bring the fires in to spark some energy, to spark some dynamic that can take away that, well, the opposite of getting on with it and getting up and doing it is completely stagnant energy. So to get rid of that stagnation. And we're talking on a higher level here. I'm not casting a thing that says Canadian people are lazy.
No, but we're comfortable. And we haven't had a lot of the struggles that others have had. And we just were locked down. And I think everybody's had that experience. But I think by and large, Canadians had it relatively easy compared to many other places in the world.
Tell you
And I
what,
wouldn't say that it was an easy experience by any stretch of the imagination, but in comparison to other parts of the world, it seemed to be tragic, and some of it was still going on up until recently. So
but
I think,
but during that crisis that we had for the last few years, the Canadians really stood out as the country that took a stand, actually.
yes, I saw it as well. I do not think that Canadians are unable by any stretch of the imagination, because I know many capable Canadians, but it worries me to think that so many are still sound asleep. And like I say, they can't even perceive the chemtrails, whether or not they should ever have to. I guess that's my question. Should they have to? Do they have to in order to, snap out of it?
So
Because there's
when your bed's too comfortable, you can just lie in it.
yes.
So these fires could be depicting a stirring up of that, because you've also got the after effects as well of the smoke,
Yes.
and the smoke gets into. I mean, I know we get really big fires here too, but when you get really big ones, you can't breathe. It prohibits your breath of life. It actually makes it hard for you to inhale and take deeper breaths because of the smoke.
Takes your air away. So the fire can be deadly, but like the phoenix, when we think of the phoenix rising from the ashes, rising from the flames, what are we seeing there? We're seeing a rebirth. And so a lot of the environmentalists have tried to convince us that it's perfectly normal for fires to start all by themselves, and uh, and that it's perfectly natural for forests to need to allow for that type of activity in order to make room for new growth. So this is something that I've heard as we've listened for a number of years now to people telling us that they can't get the flames out. Well, I just find that very hard to believe. I don't understand how that can be. Why are we unable to put it out? I feel like there's more to it. I feel like they're being let burned, or they're actually being deliberately set, or it's really truly is a result of our energy bodies and what we emit.
And in the pop-up world,
Correct.
there would be no need to have the fires because you would deal with the energy of why the fires were there,
Yes.
actually, because it's all a reflection of self, and something in your world is there. So news of it. For instance, you might live in a remote part of Canada. You might be not have a television and not have any access to the outside world. And you might think that the smoke comes in because the neighbor's having a fire, a small one.
Correct. Hmm.
So your perception could be entirely different in a pop-up world, and it's only that in our current generation we've got this whole expanse of this whole world coming in and basically contaminating our fluid mindset because there's so many bits of information coming in from everywhere, and they're all conflicting. Like you said, you got the YouTube channel on one side telling you one stuff, you got the internet telling you other stuff, you got TV telling you something, a completely different story, telling you the legitimate version of the story, they would say. But I'm not saying it's the legitimate, it's just telling you that it is. So you've got a massive amount of information on any one given subject to process and to ascertain where your line of truth is, whereas none of it might be true. In your pop-up world, it's just a
Exactly.
reflection.
People are fully unaware of a lot of things, so much is unknown to us.
Yeah,
And how could that make it untrue? Just because it's unknown to us doesn't make it untrue. But at the
exactly.
same time, should we want to bring that type of thing to somebody else's attention? Look up, what do you see, Dr. Evil and his mind games? What do we want to call this? I think that the cloudiness is a bit of a representation. So for me, the elements play out. The air is our thoughts, and the water, when we were talking about floods earlier, for me, that's our emotional body. So water is about a great purging, and water will come and wash it all away. If that's what, depends on your chart. I really do feel that astrology is beneficial because you can see where, there might be troubled waters ahead. There might be some challenges in certain parts of your chart that you can become aware of and better prepared for. And I do think that that helps. But with air, it's all about what we think. And our thoughts are so clouded. You've talked recently about information overload. And
Mm.
this is something that I've really seen coming for a long
Mm.
time because whether we're in the age of Aquarius or the age of Gemini, as I intuit, um, it's both air sign energy and
Mm.
it's all about thoughts. So, what are we thinking? What are we manifesting? How is it that we create? We create with our thoughts. You you demonstrated that. Like our thoughts were distracted with Luke mindset power, and now here we are, tackling something quite serious. And
But it's thought and emotion.
yes,
Thought and emotive. So we cannot change our bandwidth
no,
thoughts alone. It has to actually be emotive thoughts. It has to actually be either something that inspires us or something that we can relate to. Like, okay, I'm going to change the subject here because I want to take you. I want to show you this video that I found. And then after I've showed you this video, I want to talk about how we can be self-responsible for changing our bandwidth. All right.
yes.
So I'm just going to show you this little video. I keep on doing that. It keeps on telling me I cannot do that. I can share the
Can I do
screen.
it?
Can I do it? Right. This one, I did, and you don't know about this one, but I know you like this one because this is right up your street. Mind you, how do I know what you like?
Well, I think I trust you've got some wise ways, Kim.
Okay. I can't find it. It's called happiness. Oh, there, happiness is our own. Right. Happiness is our own responsibility. Okay. And here's a demonstration of it.
Oh, oh, I love that. That's brilliant. Oh, that's fabulous. I watched as my pup this morning was doing something like this. He was playing all by himself, surrounded by other lazy old dogs that couldn't be bothered. And he just wanted to play. And so he did, just like this pup. It's so great that you're bringing this forward. Thank you.
So, and it's titled Happiness is Our Own Responsibility. Okay.
So true.
So here's this little dog, and he's running the ball upstairs and letting and chasing it. And it's happening for him. He's discovered a way to play for himself. So essentially, we need to discover ways in order to meld with the bandwidth. So there are certain experiences in my life where I had to bring my bandwidth right down very, very low in order for me to interact with somebody that was in a lower bandwidth. And then I wanted to go down and be with them. But I knew that, like, and I'll give you an example of this. Like, say it was somebody who got very heavily into drugs, somebody I was relative of mine that got very heavily into drugs. And they ended up living in a house full of other druggies.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to go and visit this relative, but I knew that the density of the space wouldn't allow me to get there. So I'd get there and there'd be nobody home, or I'd get there and there'd be no, I mean, it's a long way away as well. So I had to make a big effort to go there and then get there and not be allowed to see the person that I'd actually made all this effort to go and see.
Mm-hmm.
So it was necessary in order for me, before I left, for me to prepare my energy so my vibration was lower, so I could actually enter that density. And density and destiny are very close words, and I always want to go to say the other when I say density.
That
So
makes sense. That's true.
you can actually lower your vibration purposefully in order to go and meet somebody who's in a dire circumstance. And again, this is it
It's
can be
deliberate.
deep.
It's the switch. We've all been through difficult times where, we could be listening to something or watching a video like this, and then in walks someone who has just suffered a great loss. Well, is it the right time to share something, fun? I don't know. So I might play a little cautious and be sensitive to where is this person? How will they feel about this?
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
how many times has somebody like you're really upset about something and somebody comes in and tries to tell you a joke and you're just like, this is not the right time for this.
not the right time.
I
No,
actually want
that's
to
right.
process this, you know? I want to process this grief. I want to process this so and so. Don't come here, don't come into my space and try and change my demeanor because I'm processing my emotion. I'm in the process of processing it. Sorry, it's
Yes,
too
I'm
many
in the process
processes
of
in there.
pressing it. I like that.
Right. So it is possible for you independently to change your own frequency to a lower frequency deliberately, and not necessarily to go in with the intention of changing that, in this example, drug addict's world, because it's not my business. It's nothing to do with me. If they
Right.
choose to be a drug addict, then so be it. There's nothing I can do about it. And I don't need to go in there and convince them that they shouldn't be doing what they're doing because it's not my business. But what I can do is go in there and go down, reach their space, and just share some time with them.
Correct.
Even if it's just
And
playing cards or something, you know?
exactly, because we're all worthy of love. And so many of us didn't get the memo. And, part of the problem is that we really don't like ourselves. How many of us are really truly kind to ourselves, like our internal thoughts? What is it that we're listening to? Is it that I can't voice or is it the I will voice? Which one? And I think this is the habit. Like when you say change the vibration, I think that's exactly the vibration. It's the sound, it's the word and the tone, the sound, and it's all there.
And the
The sword
bandwidth.
and the stone, the sound and the word and the tone.
So that all right. So that tuning, that radio tuning thing, you can turn it up, you can turn it down, you can inspire it by watching things that align with you. And then the other thing that we were talking about last night, which is kind of interesting, was and I know I've talked about this before, but what did you really enjoy doing as a child when you were left to your own devices to play?
Hmm.
So what was your thing?
Oh, I enjoyed being outdoors. I enjoyed my dog. A lot of the things that I enjoy now because I've done the work and I found myself. I went back and I found myself. It was like a soul retrieval. And yeah, I was lost. But I went back and I said, okay, what did I like? And it started with something very simple, such as pen, paper, journaling, drawing, scribbling, coloring, to creating mandalas and just allowing the words to flow. And I was thinking earlier, I don't journal as much as I once did, but it allowed me to build the muscle that I had lost that connection to myself. And I'd forgotten for so long to ask myself, what do I need?
And then even yesterday, my friend was reminding me that you we can talk to our if we're a bit lost or a bit low or a bit down or something, we can ask the higher aspect of ourselves to reveal a path for us.
Yes,
Um, we can never ask for them to, like, I can't say to my higher self or leave myself, go to bed at night and think, um, all right, higher self, can you show me the direction I need to go in? Because they're simply not allowed to,
no,
because it's considered interfering in my, and I might be wrong about this. I might be wrong about everything, but I don't
I
think that
think you're
they're
right
allowed
about
to.
that because it's up to us at the end of
Yes.
the day. They can maybe show us, you might like this, you might like that. It's up to you though,
But they can leave
you
their
know.
footprints in the sand.
Yes.
It's up to us to actually notice the footprints, right?
And or
So
the message from the animals or the birds or whatever it is that we are perceiving.
So I had a very graphic dream last night. It was actually about Michael Jackson. I was in a car with
Oh,
was in a car with Michael Jackson. I was a passenger in a car with Michael Jackson, and he was driving on the road in this car. And then he pulled up at the traffic lights and jumped out of the car and said to me, "I'm going for a quick pee." And he ran off. So I'm trying to get into the driver's seat from the passenger seat. I'm trying to struggle into this driver's seat. And the police pulled up and they said to me, "What did you stop here for?" And I said, "I didn't. It was Michael Jackson. He's over there." And then he had this huge audience of people. I don't know what it meant. Anyway, I woke up this morning going, "What's that about?" Um, but the only thing I could think of, I mean, I'm very fond. I was very fond of his music, and it did have a big impact, especially in my younger life. It really helped me process emotions.
yes,
Um, so maybe that dream was perhaps again footprints in the sand saying to me, "Well, some of the answers are there for you at the moment."
maybe go back and listen to the lyrics again, Kim. Like we
Exactly.
sometimes go back and look at the, the words in a book and what is it that we took away then and what is it that we take now? Well,
Yeah.
likewise with music.
Yeah.
What is it that it was trying to teach us then and what lessons can we look back in hindsight and say, this is what I missed the last time, but look at this part's there now and where will it take me? So it's all a big mystery. And it's for us to unfold the parts that appeal to us.
Okay. So, next thing we were talking about, and this is a bit of a heavy one, we were talking about the potential of defensive responses being a mark of narcissism.
Yes. Yes,
Um,
I think so, because a narcissist typically cannot take responsibility for anything at all. If they are thinking that you're angry or you're upset or they're in trouble in some way, you're not going to get an apology. You won't get ownership of any such behavior. Whereas, we might say, "Oh, my bad, I spilled it." That's not going to happen from a narcissist. They just, in my opinion, they can't perceive that.
so it could be a way that we could identify if people are actually narcissistic or have narcissistic traits. I mean, it's not saying that because somebody has those traits that they're necessarily 100% narcissistic,
That's
because
right.
it's something that you can float in and out of. And I mean, some are more toxic than others. But if you find that there's somebody around you that is completely defensive all the time, every time you try to approach a matter with them that you might need clearing, it might give you an indication. Um, I don't really like labels very much personally because I find that labels do a lot of damage.
I agree. And I think everyone is worthy no matter where you're at. And I
Yeah,
think that we can all be quite narcissistic and, in someone's eyes, others might perceive us, so we're all, anybody can cast a label. That's easy. How do we get out of that mess though?
I
Well,
know.
we can focus our attention on what we do want. And frankly, I think the addicts of the world, we're all addicts. We're all addicted to something. I think the addicts and the narcissists, so-called narcissists of the world, they need love the most. When you think about what they're emitting and what you think about their vibration, it's well,
But
it's not,
one of the ways that you can deal with it was actually the thing in the Celestine prophecy, which was actually naming it.
yes.
So say somebody's doing that with you and constantly being defensive, then you say, you've been way too defensive here all the time.
Hmm.
Why is that? Ask the
Or
question.
can we just accept that that person has that about them and that we won't even call it a weakness. It just is. it is how that person responds to life,
Depend
and that is their best.
it de-
And
it
maybe
depends
it's not
on
a match for me.
how much they are a part of your life and how much it's actually affecting you and whether or not you want to act on it.
Well, and once more, we have the opportunity every day to make change.
Right.
And, if it becomes intolerable, well, you have to look after yourself first. You're not beholden to anyone but
Okay.
yourself.
All right. So I'm going to show you something else. Share screen. Sorry. Have you got anything
Mhm.
else to say on that
No, I think
before I move on?
just going back to the fire for a moment, I had another big aha about the fire signs. What have we got there? The energy of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And so, what we have there on the zodiac man, anatomically, we've got the head. So, there's the thoughts again, the heart, which is the heart of the lion, the Leo, and the upper thighs, which is Sagittarius. That's where it's represented. And Sagittarius has the bow and arrow, and it's aiming for what it wants. So I think that it's asking us to take action, and to have the desire, the heart, the heart of a lion, the courage and heart to take action towards what we want, put those legs to good use. But we have to think it first. It starts there. If we think we can't, we won't.
I know. I know. All right.
So it's a wee bit of BS at first. It's through repetition and turning that I can't into I will. And how do you do that? Well, you take one bite at a time. But you start to tell yourself a different story. And you maybe stop and say, look at me go. Like change the song, sing the opposite song. Like I say, people are not always very kind to themselves. And this is a very powerful Phoenix moment. I feel it is Aries rising. It is the Phoenix rising. And it's important for us to embrace the fire within. What are our desires? What is it that we want? And quit trying to suppress it. The more we try to suppress it, the brighter it burns. So, and again, with the contrails and back to that again, Kim, it's about our thoughts. I think our thoughts are quite clouded. So to put ourselves in quiet space as much as possible, I think is of great value.
Right. Okay. So I found this little thing I thought was quite interesting.
Hmm.
It says, we are like books. Most people only see our cover. The minority read only the introduction. Many people believe the critics. Few will know the content, our content. So that was kind of cool because I thought that
That
that's very apt.
I'm reading it again. Minority read only the introduction. Many people believe the critics. That is so true. And we've learned this lesson. If we weren't paying attention in 2020, there it is. The first person to point and say, witch,
Yeah, yeah.
that's who wins
I
because
actually
they'll
felt
think
that.
the
I
ones
remember
that are
walk.
being pointed at are the witches, right?
I remember walking at the post office without a mask on and actually
Oh,
having that thought in my head and
yeah.
going, bloody hell, they think I'm a witch. They're going to burn me.
I just owned it.
And that was
Think
really
what you're
early
going
on.
to think. I
That was
had
really
somebody
early on.
say, "Why do you think you're a witch?" And I said, "What makes you think I think I'm a witch?" Well, everybody says you're a witch. I said,
Mm.
"That's not my perception." I said, "I think I'm a dragon."
Like it.
Yeah.
I think
People
I'm
will
a
believe
dragon.
what they're going to believe, right?
Like that. Okay, so the other thing, um, okay, so the other thing I wanted to like touch on was I had a new insight the other day. And it came from, do you remember? Not maybe some people remember this, maybe some people won't remember this, but computers used to have a safe mode.
Mm.
And what the safe mode was if your computer got a virus or got a problem on it, then it would come up with this kind of funny, like blurry screen, and it would go into like a section of the computer whilst it was damaged. that would let you use like 10% of its functions or something. And then the other 90% of the programs on your computer you couldn't access while the computer was in safe mode. So I was having this thought the other day about we as humans, when we get hurt, and badly damaged, that we often go into a phase of safe mode in our life.
Yes.
And that in this safe mode, and it can last a very long time, the safe mode. I'm talking maybe even 20 years. But during a safe mode, we can end up isolating ourselves with we can choose really quite, for want of a better expression, boring partners or safe partners, not necessarily boring, kind, very nice people, very gentle. We can because we need to be nurtured. We need to be mollycoddled and protected. But I think that the thing that came to me was that it was like a safe mode because we didn't really experience a great deal. We went to the surface and just experienced life on the surface for that period of time because we weren't open to experiencing the roller coaster ride because the roller coaster ride had really, really, really hurt us. But during our safe mode experiences, life can be very, very, very tranquil and very, not much happens in it. So you'll have great chunks of your life where you'll go, oh, what did I do this year? Well, I don't know. I don't, what was your high point of the year? Somebody said that to me the other day. What's been your high point of this year? And I mean, it's already June and I couldn't think of one.
Mm.
What's been your
That,
high point of this year?
oh my gosh, many. I mean, again, for me, it's a state of practicing gratitude and uh, and just reflecting back quickly to think of the times when I felt like that guy, Luke Mindset Power.
Mm,
I just felt very high and happy and allowing myself to feel that way. And, being in the right place at the right time with the right people, that's high energy. That's high value energy. So I think of that as a form of bliss, opposed to the dense, low value energy that so many of us suffer from because we're eating low value food and we're not taking high value supplements or food. Like this all really does make a difference vibrationally on what we're able to achieve. If we are set in our beliefs, and there's no way out of that. For a lot of people, some people are very firm in their beliefs, and I do feel though that we will all have our beliefs challenged in some way. Um, as you said, the flood comes or something. There is some big bang moment that shifts us into another story.
yeah,
And so we can be comfortable, but if that's not what you choose, if that's what you choose, I don't see a good, happy, healthy ending there, because I think that the body has to move, and it's part of the process. We can't sit idly. We are energetic, electromagnetic, energetic beings of light. We're not supposed to sit still.
no,
Light moves, light refracts. At
mm,
any given time, it's an angle or an angel of light
mm,
within asking to be allowed to roam freely and just express itself. And
mm,
who are we to suppress that?
mm.
Just allow the light to go where it's supposed to go. And the darkness cannot exist there
Okay,
when we choose a higher value thought and higher value all of that.
I've got a question for you. If
Mhm.
you wanted to deliberately lower your vibration, how would you do it?
I think we do that naturally. I think you really demonstrated that when you were talking earlier, when we mentioned like somebody walking into the room who's had a particularly tough time. I think I shared this story with you the other day, Kim. there was a group of us used to get together Friday night. We thought we were still, all that. We get together Friday night at one of our houses, and we drink ourselves silly, and uh, and we'd last until around 9 o'clock because now we're in our 40s or 30s, 40s, and we're realizing, oh, those days are gone. But I remembered one night we were deep into the alcohol and sharing a lot of laughs, and uh, and in walked a lady, stone cold sober, who's ready to have a baby. She says, I think my water broke. I have never seen so many women go from stupid drunk to stone cold sober, put the kettle on. We're all running to boil water. You know, what are you going to do? It was amazing how, like, talk about a shift of energy. So I think that it just happens quite naturally, even in a drunken state. Like,
Yeah.
talk about soul retrieval. I'll tell you, my buzz was killed immediately. I was excited for her birth of her child and everything, but why are you here? What do you want me to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Go to the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah. I once knew a young girl who, oh, she would have been in her 20s, but she's a bit overweight, and she was busy. She embarked on a really big gym, one of these gym phases where she was going to the gym regularly and all the rest of it. And the point is that she had a baby, but she didn't even know she was pregnant because she was going to the gym and she was losing weight, but
Mm.
her body wasn't losing any weight. So she thought that the gym wasn't having any effect. And she didn't realize that she was putting weight on because she was pregnant.
Oh,
And she actually, like 2 weeks, I don't know, 2 weeks before the due date or something, she went to the doctors. She didn't know she had a due date. She went to the doctors and said, I've got a pain in my side. And he says, you're in labor.
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
And the baby came 2 weeks prematurely. And I mean, fortunately for that girl, she didn't know who the father was because she'd slept with random people about a year before that she picked up in a pub and didn't even know their names.
Mm.
And fortunately, she had parents who owned their own business and were very supporting of her. And so it's okay, you can come and work with us, and you can bring the baby to the office. And her parents supported her through it. But just thought that's incredible. Somebody could have a baby without even knowing they're pregnant. Imagine what a
I
surprise
I
that would
have
be.
I have met a girl that went through that, and it was really quite something. She was still in high school, so she was in her senior years, and was with a fella for a long time. But she came home. Her mother used to work with someone that I knew, and her mom came to work one day, and I just happened to be there with my friend, and mom said, so and so, my daughter had a baby last night. I'm scrambling trying to find, all of what baby needs. We didn't know she was pregnant. And then she went on to tell the story. Her daughter's a gymnast, and she's in gymnastics, and she said she had a little funny feeling in her tummy, decided, you know what, I'm not going to go to class today. And she went to the hospital instead and had a baby. There was no sign of pregnancy. Her period was normal. Everything was the same as usual. She hadn't gained an ounce.
She
Because I
was
think because
super
she was
fit.
so fit. Yeah. So who says we have to become, who says we have to go through what we go through?
Yeah.
I just know for certain that that happened. I
Well,
question everything, but I was there to witness that moment for this young girl and her family. It was quite a shock.
okay. So, on a closing note, I just want to say that um, a lot of the time, comments come through on our videos, and for some reason, YouTube blocks them, but they come through on a notification. And then I can't even read the whole comment. I can only read like the first 2 lines of it or something. And then if you click on it, it disappears. So it's not like you can even repeat the comment. And some of the most profound messages come from subscribers who comment and it doesn't come up on YouTube.
Mm.
I never, ever, ever, ever delete comments. Okay. So if you make a comment and it doesn't come through, it's not because I've deleted it. It's because YouTube in its wisdom has decided that's not going to be allowed or something. I mean, even if it was a negative comment, I wouldn't delete it.
No, because you like to explore, and I do too, what makes us tick. So I don't think
Right.
either one of us are easily offended.
That's right, exactly. So I'm just letting you know that if you are commenting and your comments are not coming up, then it's not my fault. It's not my responsibility.
Try and send it again. Maybe it's a word that's tripping, triggering
AI,
some of the AI. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right, Kim.
yeah. So if you make a comment, it doesn't come up, like like you said, try and reread it and try and um I don't know, maybe because I always try and respond to comments too. I always try and either acknowledge them or something.
Well,
Anyway,
we've had some
so do
really
you do.
wonderful feedback. My goodness, so much I've learned. Like
No.
last week, we talked a little bit about the Liberty Cap, and
Yeah,
one of the comments that I have failed to respond to yet, so I'll respond now. Thank you for sharing about the gallbladder. Can you believe that? That it's shaped like the gallbladder, and makes you wonder, like, why do they take the gallbladder out?
well, you took mine out. Mine's gone.
The Liberty Cap. They took the Liberty Cap, Kim.
God, took my
It's
liberty cap.
okay. Well, you didn't
Mhm,
need it. You'd be all right. We can still rise above all that.
exactly.
We
All
just
right.
have to sing the right song, imagine the
Exactly.
right thoughts. What if it all works out?
What if it
In my
does?
experience, it usually does. And, we've got choices to make along the way. How do I want to travel this path? Do I want to be joyful or do I want to feel heavy? And
Exactly.
I think at every moment, it's ours to choose.
But the heaviness is the point I was trying to make earlier is the heaviness is actually part of it too, because it's that lets us go down into the deeper parts of the crap that's really deep down inside of us. And then we
Yes.
get to pick up these little turds and carry them to the surface of our light, carry them to the surface of our thinking and go, oh my God, I didn't know this about me. Or
Mhm.
where did that come from? Who was that? Um, all right. So anything
Well,
else?
we are all one. And if it's happening to one of us, it's happening to all of us. And so it's in there. It's up to us to clear it out, shift it, and watch the skies clear. What if it again, if we look up and expecting to see it, I think we're going to see it. If we look up and expect a clear blue sky, which I often do, and when I get it behind the wheel of my car, it's all going to be easy, clear blue skies, easy roads ahead. I really do feel confident in my belief that there's a great amount of power in the story that we tell.
I agree. I agree. Everybody,
So,
everybody. That's not just you and me. That's
no,
everybody. Everybody has their own stories. So one of my favorite scenes in Outlander. I love the series Outlander, by the way. I think there's quite a lot of quite in-depth stuff in that. But one of my favorite scenes is where the little Chinaman's on the boat and he's saying, and he's written his life story in Chinese, and Claire goes up to him and says to him, um, oh, would you read it to me? And he's like, no, I can't read it to you because at the point of reading it out, I have to let it go. And I'm
mm,
not ready to let go of that memory yet. I thought, wow, that's profound.
that's deep because how many of us go through things and then can't speak about it until we're able,
Yeah,
until we've done all the work and
yeah,
digested it
yeah,
and,
yeah,
done everything we needed to do, stayed up all night with it,
yeah,
danced with it. What if we just
yeah,
accepted it right from the beginning? What if we just said, okay, right, so that happened. Can I change it? Did I cause it? Can I control it? Or should I just move on and accept that that's what's happened and that it's beyond my control? So much of what we suffer from is truly beyond our control.
I know. And the other, well, it is, but I don't think our life is defined by what happens to it. I think to us, I think it's defined by what we do about it.
How we react. I agree, Kim.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I'm going, or we're
Always
going.
good to talk. Thank you, Kim.
Thanks. Bye
Thanks,
bye.
everyone. Listen to your comments. We are always happy to hear from you.
Bye.
Thank you.